People Before Profit TD Paul Murphy has launched a bill in the Dáil that would ban the advertising of fossil fuel. He joins us now. Paul, talk us through what you're proposing here.
Good morning, Shane. So, like the ban on tobacco advertising, this would be a ban on ads for fossil fuels, ads for flights, and ads for new cars. And the reason for that is twofold. One, as hopefully most people understand, we are hurtling towards climate catastrophe. The scientists tell us we have to stay under 1.5, but really we're heading for somewhere between 3 and 4 degrees, if not more, like an absolute disaster for everybody who lives on this planet. And we know that fossil fuels are the driving factor in that. And secondly, similar to tobacco, public health. I mean, we have the highest rates of asthma in this country. 1 in 10 children have asthma. And combustion of fossil fuels, cars in particular, is again a key factor in terms of driving that. So we should not be permitting these big, powerful corporations to advertise and shape wants and encourage people to continue to buy fossil fuel driven cars and continue to buy fossil fuels.
Okay, so it would cover things like, for example, shops putting up things about the price of coal, the price of briquettes. You're saying all that would go.
So on-site advertising of prices is excluded, as is, for example, the sale of second-hand cars. So you continue to sell your car on adverts or DoneDeal or whatever. But this is a measure that has been introduced in Amsterdam, a very similar measure, and in France, where they have focused more on just the fossil fuels themselves as opposed to car advertising, which this also targets. There is a reason that fossil fuel companies and car companies spend together probably over $100 billion every year on advertising. And it's because advertising works. It does shape people's behavior. They're able to tell you about this great new car, greenwash it, suggest it's not so bad for the environment and so on. And it shapes people's attitudes. And we think we should free people from that, just like we freed people from tobacco advertising. Um, in the
I presume
context,
e-cars would advertising would be allowed, would they?
exactly. So it's
Okay.
fossil fueled cars.
Can I put it to you? I mean, it's a very radical measure, and I do want to ask you about how likely it is to get through the Dáil in a moment. But um, another radical measure, or less radical measure, would be carbon taxes, and that would stop people using things like cars and fossil fuels and so on. You're opposed to that, though. I mean, is that not having your cake and eat it? Is it not cherry picking?
No, we have carbon taxes. They don't
Which
work,
which you
as you see,
oppose?
because people don't have alternatives. Actually, those who advocate for carbon taxes these days are mostly the fossil fuel companies because
Paul,
they
that's
see it
not
as an
true.
all.
That's not true. Nearly all environmentalists absolutely back fossil fuels. They say you can't diminish global warming. You can't reduce global warming without carbon taxes. Would be
No,
their
no,
argument.
no, they don't. So in America, it is the fossil fuel corporations who push for carbon taxes as an alternative to pretend that we're doing something, right? All the evidence suggests that carbon taxes are extremely, extremely ineffective. And the problem is they place the burden on ordinary people, those who have least responsibility for the
Polluter
climate
pays.
crisis. But no, it's not the polluter pays. It's those who have the older cars who have to pay. It's those who don't have access to public transport have to pay. So we think, look, this isn't the silver bullet by itself to stop climate change. Transport emissions is the second biggest driver, second biggest sector in terms of our emissions in this country. And like I'm sure you've had me on before advocating for free, frequent, massively expanded public transport. We have to get people out of cars. And the main way to do that is to give people a viable alternative. But we should stop these corporations, like we did with tobacco, like is being done to some extent now with alcohol. Stop these corporations effectively greenwashing their products and trying to push these products on people.
Just very finally, is this bill likely to get support? Have you spoken to the government parties? Have you spoken to the Greens, for example, on this?
Well, it is the Green Party policy is to support significant regulations on ads for cars, which effectively would ban most of the car advertising that we see today. Whether the Greens go with that, obviously we have to see. I mean, this is a growing issue internationally. So about 300,000 people have signed a petition across Europe supporting this demand. In June 2022, the Doctors' Organization in Canada
Okay.
signed an open letter demanding a ban. And like I said, it has been implemented in
We will
Amsterdam and partially implemented
we
in
will
France.
watch with interest. Paul Murphy, People Before Profit TD. Thank you for talking to News Talk Breakfast this morning.